Welcome to the Achieving Your Optimal Health webinar. And the reason you're looking at Las Vegas area trails is that this is where our webinars are stored here, all our replay webinars. And you see we started June 12th, 2019, and it's getting close to June of 2020. So we've been going almost a year. And so if you go to LasVegasAreaTrails.com, click on Health Education, you can see all the webinars. This is an example of a webinar. One of our presenters, Annie Imprima Martin, is here with us tonight.
Yay.
She did a webinar, Friendship, the Armor That Protects Us. And just to give you an example, here's an example of a webinar that has been completed. You've got the webinar replay link. You've got statements of value, why attend this webinar. You can find out all about Annie. And then the webinar slides. And here you go. You can just view those slides. And then at the bottom of the slides, boy, you had a lot of slides, Annie. At the bottom of the slides, did a great job. Loved that webinar. Then you have the notes. And so each of our webinars that you see in this link is set up in that way. Awesome collection of webinars that we've put together in this past year. And one of our most recent webinars is Coronavirus, Boosting Your Immune System, adds a layer of protection. And so that's definitely one that is very timely. And you can see there's the webinar. It was more of a discussion, so we don't have slides and notes. But our team each gave their best advice as far as how to boost your immune system. And by the way, I think I don't have a picture of the team there. Let's go ahead here and just click on another one. In fact, let's do this one, which was Denise Tropia and Boosting the Miracle of Microcirculation. Awesome webinar Denise did. But at the very bottom, I believe, I've got a picture. This is our team, our presentation team. So each of them have presented at least one or more webinars at this point. And you can read about them at the bottom of any of the webinars. But I just wanted to give you an idea, who our team is and a little bit about, how to locate different webinars and the value of these webinars. And now what I'd like to do is introduce our guest, Rosemary Fajardo? Fajardo. Okay, it's one of those silent J's. Okay, good.
Yes.
Rosemary is an emotion code practitioner, and that is a mystery to a lot of people. We're going to learn about emotion code and a little bit about Rosemary. She's an intuitive soul guide, emotion code practitioner, and founder of Lots of Love Club. That's cool. I love that name.
Thank you.
Her passion and purpose focuses on helping souls open and expand their hearts so they can live their life full of unconditional love. Wow, boy, we need that. Most of us protect our heart and close ourselves off from others after we get emotionally hurt. But by becoming aware that your past emotional heartbreak is actually blocking you from giving and receiving love at this moment, you now have a choice to continue closing yourself off or start opening up your heart to the beautiful love you already have inside you. So you're not going to pour love into us necessarily, but you're going to help us find the love that's within ourselves. I love that.
Yes.
Okay, so Rosemary speaks and hosts workshops with the intention that attendees leave with new perspectives that resonate on a deep personal level and lead to growth. In her workshops, she stresses the importance of doing the inner work after gaining new perspectives and knowledge. And oh boy, she's got a list of titles. This is great. Celebrating heartbreak, transmuting the negativity of breakups. Are these all books that you've written?
No, one day. But my Celebrating Heartbreak is actually, I'm developing an online course soon. So stay tuned.
Okay,
Yeah. But these are
awesome.
topics that I've spoken about.
I love that. Protecting your heart is preventing you from love, building authentic connections in a disconnected digital world, stepping into your power when you feel at an all time low, and the journey to finding your soul's purpose. God, I love these. I'm so
No,
excited to
no,
hear
thank
from you,
you.
Rosemary. So,
Yay.
she's going to talk about, what is emotional baggage? How does emotional baggage negatively affect our bodies and our lives? What is our governing meridian? I have no idea what that is. What is emotion code? I have no idea of that either. I'm excited to learn. How can we use emotion code to identify untrapped emotions? So, excellent. So, Rosemary, um, rather than me continuing to talk, everyone knows me already. I'm really anxious to hear what you have to share. So, uh, would you like? I'm going to stop sharing the screen. Do you want to go to your PowerPoint and just
Sure,
start, or okay?
sure.
Okay, I just hit the stop share button. You go ahead
All
and
right.
take over and go for it.
Awesome. Well, thank you again for having me for this presentation. I'm excited to share. But can you see my screen? Is it
Yes.
good? Okay, cool. So today I'll be sharing how to well, I should have said start removing trapped emotions using emotion code. And first, I just wanted to flash back to 17-year-old me. Back
Ah.
then, I would really try to run away and fight my negative emotions, like my sadness and my anxiousness. And I was really frustrated why I would feel emotions very, very deeply and why I felt emotions so often. And I believed that showing emotions like sadness or fear was a sign of weakness. And I would constantly feel alone and empty despite having like hundreds of friends. And looking back, from where I am now, it's crazy to see like the journey that I've been on to why I've become an emotion code practitioner. But essentially, me today, I embrace all emotions and experiencing all spectrums of uncomfortability and joy. But now I understand that I had to go through my own emotional struggles to help others who are ready to understand their emotions as well. And I essentially, everything that I believed was negative about emotions, I rewrote that within my brain. And I realized that that was what I was growing up with. Those were the messages that I grew up in. And that's why I always had that internal struggle of seeing emotions negatively. But now I feel very connected with myself and with my friends. And I still go through my own emotional struggles. But because I've become more aware of my own emotions, then I definitely have a healthier relationship with myself. And so we all have our own unique emotional baggage. And I've learned that learning and understanding about your own emotions is a never ending journey, but it's a beautiful one if you choose to make it beautiful. So, what are emotions? And like I said, I grew up with thinking that emotions were a sign of weakness or sad or something that's negative, but in reality and on the simplest level, emotions are energy. And every single emotion that we experience has its own specific vibration. And so on David Hawkins' scale of consciousness, um, emotions like guilt and shame and fear are all low vibrating. So they're about 20 to 175 um, on the scale, while being neutral or balanced is about 250. But with love and joy and anything just surrounding that or encompassing those emotions, they're above 500. So that means you're vibrating at a high frequency. And that's what we all really want to be. Like whenever we see someone vibrating at a high frequency, we really also want to elevate ourselves to be at that frequency. And so in the first law of thermodynamics, energy cannot be created or destroyed, only transferred. And so with emotions being energy, if we fight emotions, where is that going to go? Because it can't be created or destroyed. And so with emotion code, what it is that it's a holistic and natural method of energy healing developed by Dr. Bradley Nelson that is designed to permanently remove trapped emotions from the body. And what a trapped emotion is, it's trapped energy. Because essentially, because we're fighting or really forcing us to not feel that emotion and to not flow that energy, it gets trapped in our body because it doesn't know where to go. So it's just saying, oh, well, let's just put myself here because I can't go anywhere else. And so trapped emotions get trapped when you feel any or when we go through any traumatic events, or if we go through any heartbreaks, and really just the moments of uncomfortability that we want to fight. That's when we trap the emotions and trap that energy within our bodies. And so trapped emotions are balls of energy that are lodged within our energetic body, and it causes imbalance. And our bodies all have an electromagnetic field. And because this ball of energy is there and it's not supposed to be there, it causes the energy in your electromagnetic field to be warped. And the longer it's there, eventually the trapped emotions that are in your body for years and years and years eventually manifest into physical imbalances. So it can be anything from constant shoulder stiffness or neck pain, or it can even cause illnesses, disease. And this is happening to us or to people because we aren't aware that there's an underlying energetic cause causing those physical imbalances. Essentially, it's your body's way of telling you, hey, there's something there that we really, really need you to address and release. But because we're not aware, like I said, it just stays there and the issue continues to be worse. And so how can trapped emotions potentially affect our bodies? One, it can trigger low vibrating emotions, because essentially when we're experiencing a low vibrating emotion or a trigger, we're bringing up a cycle that we had from the past. And what we're actually experiencing is a trigger that that we've already experienced. So for example, if somebody told us that just for me, for example, somebody told me to like shut up or something because I was speaking, because I had that shock every time something of similar nature happens, then I also get that shock because essentially that cycle from the past is happening again. And so it triggers us to feel emotional, low vibrating emotions, but then also it can lead to negative thoughts. And essentially with any negative thought, it takes us away from the present moment. And in turn, this leads to negative emotions. So they kind of go hand in hand. Another way that it affects our bodies is that it causes constant physical discomfort. And like I said, it's your body's way of telling you in this world, that this physical reality, that, hey, there's an energy there that really needs attention. And even though it's invisible, until it becomes physical, like that's our job to like become aware that there are energies there that are trapped that could potentially cause us to have physical imbalances and discomfort in the future. And so for me personally, I have a lot of neck pain, and I know I'm like relatively young, and it's weird to not have that neck pain, but because for that example that I said of like my mom or people would tell me to, you know, be quiet or not say anything, that emotion was lodged in my throat. And because my throat is where my neck is, that's where the physical imbalances are starting to show in my physical body. And then one last thing is that difficulty with love, and I'm all about love, as David read through my bio, but we also can build a heart wall out of trapped emotions, and they're caused by heartbreak. And most of us, when we get hurt from heartbreak, we build a wall to protect ourselves so that we don't get hurt as much the next time. But by building this wall, it actually blocks us from giving our love and receiving love. And in turn, we have trouble getting into relationships. We have trouble being vulnerable with others and being close with others, because there is that energetic blockage from us spreading our own love. And so, oh, why can't I change the slide? Okay, so yeah, it's an energetic wall built around the heart. And so just imagine that the love in your heart is a balloon expanding, but it's surrounded by a physical wall. This balloon physically can't expand because there's a wall there. And so essentially, in an energetic sense, that's what's happening when you try to expand your vibration of love and your emotion and energy of love. So with the emotion code process, how to start releasing your trapped emotions or your emotional baggage is that first you must become aware, and then we release, and then your body has to process the energetic release. And so the trapped emotions that are by 60 trapped emotions, we find the one trapped emotion that is related to the issue that you currently have. So essentially, we're working backwards to find the underlying cause of the issue that you want to focus on today. And there are 3 ways to trap emotions. One is inheritedly, which means you got it from your mom or your dad. And because they weren't aware that they had trapped emotions, they just kept passing it down in the lineage. The other way is that you can trap emotions while you're in the mother's womb. So when she's having you and she's pregnant with you, if she traps an emotion because you both are connected, then she passes that on to you. And then the other way, the last way to trap emotions, is that you go through your own traumatic experiences or heavy emotional experiences through your own life. And so essentially the first 2, inherited and prenatal, that means you've had a trapped emotion for your entire life. And then the trapped emotions that you trap during your life, just it depends on what age and what situation you trap it from. Am I allowed to ask if anyone has questions so far? Or should I just keep going?
No, definitely. Yeah, and definitely, if you'd like people to, interject, ask questions, and make it more of a discussion, if you're comfortable with that, just we would be happy to do that. So
Okay, well, thank you. Yeah, does anyone have any questions so far? I feel like it's a lot, so just want to take a breather.
well, does it go in 2 directions? That was one of the things that I wrote down. You said, for example, trapped emotions can result in neck pain. Now, if you have neck pain, does that mean that it's from trapped emotions? I mean, does it go the other direction too?
From what I practice, no, because essentially the neck pain is caused by the energy of the trapped emotions that were
Mhm.
trapped from your life. And so I mean, I also believe that it could be like with physical imbalances, it also could be a combination of both energy and like actually doing something physical. Because
Mhm.
with me, I also have shoulder pain, like I have constant shoulder pain. And for the longest time, I used to have a heavy backpack for most of my life. So I thought that
Mm,
was the reason. But learning more about my trapped emotions, I actually have 200 trapped emotions trapped in my shoulder. And
wow.
I personally had a kind of traumatic childhood. I mean, I had a lot of toxic moments with my family. And so after
Mhm.
learning that, I was like, oh, well, that makes a lot of sense. That's why I have all this physical discomfort for someone to be um, relatively, as someone who's like relatively young, and they say that I shouldn't be having these things,
Mhm.
but now I understand that I have this physical imbalance because I had such a traumatic childhood and trapped a
Mhm.
lot of emotions when I was younger. And most of the emotions that I've trapped are within the years 10 to 15. So that means it's been within me for at least, 15 years, 10 to 15 years before it finally
Mhm.
showed up. So yeah, that's pretty much my personal story. But yeah, it can't go backwards. It's the energy is the foundation of why the neck pain is happening, and it can't flip, or at least I'm not aware that it can flip. So
Well, that brings to mind a whole lot of things. You said that you have over 200 trapped emotions, which brings the question, maybe you're going to answer this later. How did you identify that you have 200 trapped emotions? Like, oh, here's one. Okay, add that to the list. Here's another one. So I
mhm.
recognize these are trapped emotions. So that's kind of a question that came to mind. Another thought that just came to mind very spontaneously was my dad once told me that I was born premature by about a month, and it was such a difficult birth that my mother almost died in the birth. They wrapped her up in a rug and rushed her off to the hospital. And I
Oh
wondered,
wow.
oh boy, I
Oh wow.
wonder if there's stuff going on there. But
Yeah.
anyway, really, this kind of conversation really makes you think about,
Mhm.
wow, it opens up a whole new set of questions.
Yeah.
Pains
And it,
just may not be pains. They may be caused by something.
yeah. Yeah, definitely. I mean, pain is energy as well. It's just the physical energy. It's what's showing for your own body. But to answer your first question, I'm actually just about to talk about that.
Okay, I
So
figured it was
yeah,
coming.
no, you're fine. So how we find trapped emotions is that we access your subconscious mind because it knows everything about you and what you've experienced. And so there are three ways to access your subconscious mind. One way is the sway test, um, which is where if you're very grounded and rooted, if you ask your body a question that's true, then you naturally sway forward. And then if you ask a
Hmm.
question that's false, your body naturally sways backwards. But you definitely have to be grounded and like really focused on yourself and not distracted. Otherwise, it doesn't really work. The
Hmm.
other way is to muscle test, and muscle testing is when your when it's true, your body says, gives you an answer and is strong. But if it's something that's false, your body gives you an answer that's weak. And so um, I can't really do it on myself because I don't have somebody to kind of demo for me. But one way is like the arm test, and if you say something that's true, you'll still be strong. But if you say something that's false, your body will naturally be weak. And
Hmm.
even though you're still trying to fight it and be strong, because it's trying to tell you that it's wrong, your body will fall and be weak.
Hmm.
But me personally, I use a pendulum, and that's why I have a picture of my pendulum. And so, how I access the subconscious is that I ask permission for people, or for the person that I'm working with. I ask the person I'm working with permission to connect with their energy. And so, if you're curious, do you want me to connect with you and try to find a trapped emotion from you, David, if you're willing?
Definitely. Yeah,
All
let's
right.
let's do it. I love being a guinea pig.
Yeah, cool. So all pendulums answer differently. And so with
Mhm.
my pendulum, this is a yes answer. It goes back and forth. Am I in frame? I can't tell if I'm in frame.
I can see the pendulum. You lift it up
Okay,
just a little bit more. There we go. Okay, now we see
there
the
you go.
whole pendulum.
So this is a yes answer. It's yes. And then so for a no answer, it swings in a circle, or it oscillates in a circle.
Hmm.
So can you tell the difference?
Yes.
Okay, so essentially that's the
I
essential. Oh, go ahead.
or I just said I said yes. I can't tell the difference. Did
Okay.
that make the pendulum do something?
No, it didn't. So
Okay.
essentially the energy is going through the pendulum, and that's why it can give us a yes or a no answer.
Okay.
And so right now, am I connected to David? So it's saying no, then I'm connected with you. I'm saying it's no, I'm not connected with you. But do you give me permission to connect with you, David?
Yes.
Yes? Okay, sweet. Look, the pendulum is swinging back and forth now. And I'm not moving, I swear.
Mhm.
And so
I believe you.
and is David's subconscious answering? Yes. So your subconscious is answering right now. And is there an issue that you like to tackle for tonight, to ask what trapped emotion is causing it? Like, do you have any physical pain right now that you're feeling?
I have had a lot of neck pain recently. I do use a backpack. I go up in the mountains a lot, and
Oh,
then I
yeah.
run down mountains with this 20 to 30 pound backpack on my back, and
Hmm.
I went to a structural body therapist who has been looking at my neck and saying, wow, this is compressed. We've got
Mm.
to figure out how to uncompress this. And if you don't do something about it, you're going to um, have extreme pain and be unable to move in future years.
Oh,
And so
no.
there's stuff going on there. But yeah, when you said neck pain, I thought, oh,
You're
that's
like, oh,
me.
that's me too. Well,
Yeah.
okay. So first, what would you say on a scale of 1 to 10, with your 10 being the worst pain right now?
Right now, I'd say it's probably 2.
Oh, it's not that bad right now.
No, but if I'm lying in bed and, just like when you roll out of bed to get up,
Hmm.
sometimes it's so painful that
Mm.
I have to literally hold my head to move my body
Wow.
without feeling like my head's going to fall off.
Wow. Okay. Well, hopefully when you wake up tomorrow, you can feel a difference. But also, since we're going to just do one chapter motion, we'll also see how many total you have,
Okay,
if you'd like.
definitely go
So,
for it.
all right. So now referring back to that chart that I showed earlier, basically we just narrow it down to the one trapped emotion. And so, is there a trapped emotion that we can clear that's causing David's neck pain? So it's saying yes. Is it in column A? Is it in column B? Is it an even row? Is it an odd row? Is it row 1, row 3, row 5? Is it abandonment, betrayal, forlorn, lost? Lost? Yes, it's lost. Okay, did he trap this before 30? Yes or no? Before 20? Before, nope. What about before 25? So 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30. So at 30, is there an event that you can think of that caused you to feel lost, like extremely lost?
Um, yeah, I can think of some
Also,
event.
you don't have to say it. You can also
Hmm.
think it in your mind and then let me know,
Yeah.
because
Okay.
do you have the one event?
Yep. I have it in mind.
Okay. Okay. Is this the reason why? Yes or no? Please show me. So it's saying yes. And then, so now do we need to know more about it? Yes or no? So no, we do not need to know more about it. Can we just go ahead and clear it? Okay, so what essentially we're doing is that we're bringing the situation to the surface so that it's much easier to release. Because if it's still in your subconscious, then it's like you're still trying to dig it out. And so essentially I had, oh, sorry. Essentially I had slides to explain this, but I guess I'm just doing a demo.
Hmm.
So what we do, how to release it, is that we take magnets and then we roll it down the governing meridian. And what the governing meridian is, it's your body's energy center that starts at the upper lip and it goes all the way down to the tailbone. And the reason we use magnets, the reason why we use magnets is that they act as an amplifier to release that trapped emotion energy. And what's similar is that imagining a magnifying glass out in the sun, and when the sun's in the magnifying glass, it creates that beam of fire. It's essentially the similar concept of what's happening when when we're releasing the energy. And so I just roll it down 3 times to release it and just say my highest and best intentions. But um, we can do it distance. I mean, we can, as you tell, we can do it distance, but how distance works is that because we're connected energetically, I am being a proxy for you.
Hmm.
And I put my energy aside, and essentially it's your energy that's releasing it.
Hmm.
And I'm going to mention it later, but all energy healing is all self healing. And so if you're not open to it, then you're closing yourself off from the releasing that energy. So I mean, it seems like you're very open to it. So
Yeah, definitely.
yeah, yeah, so we'll definitely just, I'll take the time to release it. So it is my highest and best intention to please release and clear the trapped emotion of love unreceived. Oh, sorry, not love received. It is my highest and best intention to please release and clear the trapped emotion of lost. Thank you. And then I like to invite to take a deep breath if you'd like, and I exhale, just as another way to make sure that energy pushes out. And so after doing that, I just go ahead and confirm that it's cleared. Is this trapped emotion of lost now clear? So yay, we just released your first trapped emotion. So that's pretty much the process of emotion code, and we continue to do that until either the subconscious wants to stop for the day, because you can only release so much energy at a time.
Hmm.
It's like working out; you can only work out so much at a time. And then yeah, it's the similar concept of like your subconscious can only release so much at a time. But do you have any questions? So oh, also we'll find out how many are in your neck. But how many trapped emotions are trapped in David's neck that are causing his neck pain? Is it more than 20? More than 50? More than 100? No. What about more than 75? What about more than 60? What about more than 50? Okay, what about more than 55? So 55, yes or no, please show me. 55, 56, 57, 58, 59, 59. So that means in total you had 60 in your neck. So
Mm.
still not as bad as me, but definitely showing up physically for you. So
Hmm.
it's time to be like, okay, let's release that energy. But do you feel a difference with your neck by any chance? I mean, you said it was kind of a 2, so not too big of a
Um,
difference.
okay. Yeah, I could still feel it. So
Mm-hmm.
if there are 59 of those emotions in there, then
Yeah.
and you released one, I'm probably
Yeah.
going to still feel stuff.
Oh, yeah, yeah, definitely. But that I just wanted to, explain and
Hmm.
show that's
Yes.
how to release a trapped emotion.
Hmm.
But over the next 1 or 2 days, well, if we do like a full session, like a like a full session usually releases about 7 to 15 at a time.
Mm.
But your body, like I said, goes in through a processing period over the next 2 days, 1 or 2 days, and everyone processes differently because we're all different beings. And some people have vivid dreams, some people have trouble sleeping or sleep well, some people have emotional sensitivity, or some people even feel like sick, or they sneeze a lot. Everyone's different.
Mm.
And so that's essentially the process, a more detailed process of how to do emotion code. um, but essentially, the value that I love to provide with emotion code is that it gets straight to the root cause of your issue, and it gets to the root cause at a very efficient system. Like, it only took a minute to really find that one trapped emotion and release it.
Hmm.
It also helps you become aware of how your past affects your body today, and then to start realizing that you are a powerful self-healing being, because we all are. It's just tapping into that power and being aware of it, and that it's essentially energy healing that lasts a lifetime, because the trapped emotion we released from you is gone forever and it can't come back. So that lost age 30 is gone and it can't build it again. But you can trap lost again from another situation in the future. But
Hmm.
since you're aware of trapped emotions and how trapped emotions get trapped, you can just be more mindful of how you are processing your emotion in the present moment, and just allow it to flow. Otherwise, it's going to be like, I don't know where to go. I'm just going to trap it here. And so,
Hmm.
um, yep, that's pretty much emotion code in a nutshell. I know it might have been a lot, but do you have any questions? Um,
No, it's very enlightening to me that it puts something else on my radar, which is important, that that physical um, pain that I feel could very well have its root in some emotional trauma in the past. And
Mm-hmm.
and so if I see something that's persistent, if I recognize something that's persistent, I might begin to um, just be aware
Mm-hmm.
of that there's a cause there that may not just be that, hey, I was running and I injured my knee, or I wore the wrong pair of shoes, or it's something physical. It could very well be something that is an emotion, and that's new to think of. So
Yeah, it's definitely something that we're not taught as most of us were growing up. And most of us, when we do feel something physical, we go straight to the doctor, and then they they do whatever they need. They have been trained to do to help with
yes,
that situation acutely. But
give you a
with
pill
emotion, yeah, pretty much. Or yeah, and but then the
or an
pill essentially just
operation,
numbs it. Yeah, or
right?
an operation. Yeah. And what's crazy is that as I was learning about emotion code and getting certified in it, they talk about how they took a Kirlian photography of a leaf, which is
Mhm.
where I forgot
See the
exactly
energy.
what. Yeah, to see the energy of the leaf, and then when
Mhm.
they cut off part of the leaf, the energy was still there. And
Mm.
so even if you did have surgery and got something removed, that energy is
Oh
still
yeah,
there.
yeah.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
like phantom limbs. If you
yeah. It's
have had
crazy.
an amputation and you still feel
Hmm.
um, that part that has been amputated, that's been very well documented. So
Yeah. Yeah, it's definitely awesome to learn more about the body and the energetic body and how it really relates to our physical body, and yeah, just helping people become aware that emotions are really can really affect us more than we really think they can from our past. So
well, I
after
think
after
that
learning all about that, oh,
I think that when I think of the stories in the Bible of Jesus and other healers touching people, and all of a sudden they're healed, that it is like an energy transfer that's being described. And
mhm,
we think of it as a miracle, and God did something, but on the other hand, it could very well be a transfer of energy. And there are people who are healers that can heal by touch. And I felt energy um,
mhm,
in my hands. I remember one time, I was at Annie's, and we brought our hands close together and
mhm,
felt almost an electrical energy between them. and
yeah,
and so that is a real thing. I haven't thought a whole lot more about that, but yes, that sounds like something that definitely needs to be explored more.
mhm,
um, a whole nother way of healing um, that is different than just the medications and surgeries.
yeah, mhm. Yeah, definitely. It's been interesting because I've actually grown up with learning only about Western medicine because my mom's a nurse.
Mhm.
And so it's definitely interesting to look back and, we had a lot of fights. We never really got along back then when we lived with each other. And she was always telling me these Western ways of, doing things to help heal my body, but I just never really resonated with it. And it's because I wanted to dive deeper more into this type of healing for my body. And
Mhm.
definitely, I mean, I just love to stress that all healing is self-healing. And going back to when you were talking about, when Jesus touches somebody and they're healed, it's because that person's willingness to really make a change for themselves,
Mhm.
that's what causes them to be so open
Mhm.
to the energy transfer and the energy healing. And so if someone, like I said, if someone's not open to trying this method and way of healing, then it's not going to help them. It's just going to make the job harder for both the practitioner and the person. So,
And that's what often in the stories of Jesus, you hear him saying, asking a person, would you like to be healed?
yeah.
and getting that basic question answered. If they said yes, he could heal them. If they said no, then they went away sad. He wasn't able to do anything with them.
Yeah,
And
because they're not open to it.
yeah.
We have free will.
Oh, and also one thing, just before I forget, so after every session, I always break the connection. And so I give you back your energy and I give mine back, or I get mine back, and we're not connected anymore. So am I still connected to David? So it's saying yes. And all I simply say is, can I please break my connection with David? And so, am I still connected to David? Yes or no? Please show me. And so, you're no longer connected, David, but thank you for allowing me to connect with you.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Yeah, and
definitely is
that
important.
pendulum is actually a very ancient instrument. The prophets used the pendulum. There are places like Moses, when there was a question, shall we go up this mountain and take this land or whatever? They would use a pendulum. And there's an instrument called the Urim and the Thummim.
Oh, yes.
Which
Isn't that from The
Alchemist?
yeah. So a lot of these things are ancient things that when we got into Western medicine and we began to see the body as a mechanical device, like a machine that can be manipulated physically, and that's the only way to change things, we let go of this whole idea of energy. And I think what you are talking about here and bringing into the conversation is something that's more ancient than our Renaissance mechanical type thinking. And it's very powerful what you're saying, and we need people to bring that back. We've lost a lot. So
well, we're definitely shifting into a time where people are becoming more aware of this type of work. And I'm just very grateful that Dr. Bradley Nelson created this modality so I could learn from him and share with others. But also with the help of Annie, actually, she's also helped me kind of develop my own type of emotion code 2.0 Rosemary style.
very good.
Yeah, so yeah, like the pendulum isn't normally used like with the originating founders, but it's just something that I really resonate with and works for me and was most effective for me. And so that's why I love using my pendulum.
Very good.
But I didn't know it was an ancient tool. So
yes, definitely.
I'll definitely look more into that.
Much more ancient than anything that you see in any hospital. So Stan and Z, it's good to see you also. So any comments, Stan? What's your read on all this?
I have questions.
Yeah.
So we a few questions actually. So there's so let's start with first from a financial standpoint. What's your take on the emotions and where we are financially, and even maybe tying that into any kind of past life activity or past life trauma or whatever it is that we might be dealing with in life?
Are you just talking about like in general because like people are getting laid off, or are you talking about your own financial?
No,
like...
I mean it's both. Well, it's kind of both in general, I guess. It's a little bit of a general question, but it's also a question for me directly that I say, man, I am one of these people that works extremely hard, but I've still not hit the level of financial success that I want to hit. So I look at it and I say, man, what is going on with me? What is it? Is there, I truly believe that there's something there in the subconscious mind that is a block of some kind. But I wanted to do an Akashic records read or something like that, because okay, what's going on that I don't know, right? So I'm kind of just curious on your take on some of that.
Oh, sorry. Did my screen go disappear? Oh, sorry about that.
No, you're all
so okay, so my friend called me. That's why I was like, oh, where'd it go? So essentially, well, going just on the perspective, like grander perspective thing, it's not really about emotion. When it comes to not feeling that we're, we don't hit that financial point yet, it's because you're living in the future instead of the present. And that, I mean, that happens with me personally. Like I think about, my finances and like, oh, I'm not going to make enough money, or I haven't hit my goal yet. But essentially, there are programs that you have learned, and by programs I mean ways of thinking that you possibly could have grown up with, that help influence why you feel today and why you don't feel like you haven't made enough, or you haven't hit your goal yet. And it could be simple as I don't know, I'm trying to think of an example. Maybe, I don't know, did you try to sell things when you were a kid, or like did you try to like
Yes,
make
my
money?
whole life. I used to sell flower seeds. Like when I was 10 years old, I used to go around the neighborhood
Aww.
trying to sell flower seeds and vegetable seeds, that kind of stuff. I've always been one of those people that always had some kind of an entrepreneurial on life, right? So, yeah.
So was there, during that point, was there a time where you wanted to, sell a certain amount and then you didn't get to, and then so that really kind of stuck to you, or were always like, oh my gosh, my friend keeps calling me, sorry. Or did you have any financial trauma like earlier? And it could be something that's past life too, that could not be from this life, that's causing you to feel this way today. But we won't know until we actually, ask our subconscious.
Right.
But just ask me. I mean, we could, if you want to allow me to connect.
I don't mind. I don't mind if you want to do, that's fine. I
Okay.
don't recall any specific situations that were traumatic with regard to me not hitting goals or it sticking with me or anything like that. The only thing that was there was something that happened to me when I was a teenager in high school that stuck with me it stuck with me for a really long time, and it may still be there. I don't know. But it was a situation where my stepfather said to me, if you make the football team, I'm going to buy you these Puma cleats. And I made the football team, but he never bought the Puma cleats.
Oh,
and there
no.
I learned not to trust people with what they say. I learned that people will tell you they're going to do something, but they won't do it, right? And of course, over the years, that has been confirmed a couple of times in a few situations, right? Where people, yes, we're going to do this, and I do whatever it is that they said, but it doesn't happen, right? So now, is that related? Are they tied together? I have no idea. But, just in terms of me trying to go out, sell stuff, do whatever, I do struggle with, in terms of hitting, especially financial goals, I struggle with that. And I got to the point where I said, I'm not going to set a goal for it. I'm just going to go work as hard as I can work. Right. And it's going to be whatever it's going to be. So, like with my martial arts school, I had pretty decent success with my martial arts school. I brought it from $8,000 a month and about 40 members to $40,000 a month. Actually, my best month was a $50,000 month.
Oh, that's awesome.
and 250 students. But I never hit the financial projections that I always put out there. I never hit them.
Mm.
But I had good numbers. You know, I mean, at one point we were one of the top 50 schools in the country, and we were recognized in a number of different ways, but I never hit the financial projections that I put out there. So therefore, I do have this subconscious thing or this psychological thing that says, that I don't necessarily believe I'm going to hit that number. You know what I mean? So,
well, do you want to see if
sure.
whatever wants to come up tonight? Okay,
Sure.
so am I currently connected to Stan? No. Do you give me permission to connect to you, Stan?
Absolutely, yes.
Yay, so now it's saying yes. And so is there a trapped emotion we can clear that's causing him to have, how would you describe it? Well, your subconscious knows what we're talking about, and it's swinging yes like crazy. So this financial thought blockage, I guess, is how I can describe it. And so is it in column A, yes or no? Please show me. No, it isn't. Is it in column B, yes or no? Is it an even row? Is it an odd row? Is it in row 2? Is it in row 4? Is it in row 6? Okay, so is it pride, yes or no? Please show me. Is it shame? Is it shock? Is it unworthy? Is it worthlessness? Did he trap this before 20, yes or no? Please show me. What about before 25? What about before 30? Okay, so what about 25, yes or no? 25, 26, 27, 28. So at 28, is there something that you can think of that made you feel worthless?
At age 28?
Mm-hmm.
That was a long time ago, sweetheart. I have to think as to when that was.
Okay, so what I can do to help you is that I can ask if it's like related to friend or work or family. And so is it related to a friend, yes or no? Is it related to family, yes or no? Is it related to work, yes or no? So it is related to work. Do we need to know more? So we need to know more. So do you remember what job you had at that time, at
Yes,
28?
at that time I worked for the federal government, and by all means at that time I was doing pretty well because I don't remember what level I was at that point, but I progressed up to a GS-12, which at that point I was
That's big.
doing pretty well in the government.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So
Did you feel like any low point during that time? Also, it's plus or minus 1 year, so either 27, 29.
right around that, somewhere maybe like around 29 or so, I left the government and went basically into private industry. So I then started working in the personnel field with companies. So I was with a waste management company for that year. And yeah, my income took a hit. In fact, my income took a hit at that point, and it almost never, temporarily, a few times it came back up to where it was or exceeded, but then it would always get slammed back down.
Okay, so that was probably one of the starts of that cycle. And so is this
Probably.
the reason why? So yes, it is. Do we need to know more? No. Can we just go ahead and clear it? Yeah, sometimes it's plus or minus 1, so I forget to mention that. But and so now I just take the time to release it. And so it is my highest and best intention to please release and clear the trapped emotion of worthlessness. Thank you. And I can take a breath. If you can take a deep breath with me too. And exhale. Okay, and so I just see if it cleared, and is this trapped emotion of worthlessness now clear? Yes. And so are there any more trapped emotions that are causing him to have this financial blockage, mental blockage? Is it more than 5, more than 10, more than 15, more than 20? So 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. So there's still 20. That means you had total 21, but we will remove one today. But how do you feel after that? I know it was
That
only
means I'm
one.
like really messed up, huh? Because I have all kinds of other problems too, you know.
I mean, we all have problems. Come on.
You know,
That's why I love sharing this.
you know, for me, I studied Reiki for a little bit as
Mm-hmm.
well. And for me, people would always say, the instructor or others in the class would say, okay, well, how do you feel? What do you notice? Do you feel anything different? No, I don't. I think for me, quite often, it's just, I just try and take it and internalize it and then sleep on it and
Mm-hmm.
just my subconscious mind work on it.
Yeah, the processing over
So
the next couple of days. But
who
yeah,
knows?
but I
Z might
personally,
have a question. Do you have a question?
okay.
Yeah.
Hi.
Okay, so does this help with somebody who's suffering from depression and trauma?
Mm-hmm. I definitely, I personally haven't worked with somebody with depression, but the founder has worked with many people who have had depression and have helped them no longer feel depressed. And also, I did work on someone who said they've used emotion code before, and she used to be extremely depressed, and essentially, like, emotion code saved her life. But I wasn't the practitioner that did that. She just found me after she had already been experiencing emotion code after all these years. But definitely it can help with depression because essentially emotion is affecting emotion. And yeah, it's definitely a lot of underlying causes that can possibly cause your depression because it is that heavy emotion that is affecting you today. And so
Can I add something,
uh,
Rosemary? Do you mind?
yeah, yes, go ahead.
What I've learned in my experiences in my training is that women especially, but men and women, if we internalize energy, if we internalize emotions, we internalize anger, and anger masks as depression, but it's not really depression. So when we then have the awareness that it's anger, then emotion code becomes very, very powerful in removing it.
Mm-hmm.
Because they look alike.
Mm.
People who internalize their energy versus physically externalize with, punching, going to the gym, punching the bags, or getting into physical altercations. If we internalize it, it will mirror depression.
Mm-hmm.
A
So,
And also,
a psychological definition of depression is anger turned inward.
Inward.
mm-hmm.
And
I didn't know
anger
that.
is on the chart.
Yeah,
Mm.
anger's on the chart. But
You were going to say
yeah,
something,
did you have
Z?
another question, Z?
yeah, I've tried hypnotherapy. It's me who's suffering from that. I've tried hypnotherapy, and honestly, it didn't help me because at the beginning, yeah, it did kind of because I have a trauma when I was a child. So the hypnotherapist, yeah, could reach me when I was a kid. But after that, like, we lost connection. I lost connection with that kid, and like I felt like I'm not doing, like, there is nothing helping me there, so I let it go. So I don't do it anymore. So if it's that would help me, I'm totally interested. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I provide the first 3 for less amount for like a full session, but when you have initial session with me, I actually take that money that you purchase for the initial session and I'll put it towards a full session if you do want to move forward with a full session. But definitely I like to also just provide kind of like a taste and see how you process over the next several days, instead of hitting you like all at once and be like, all right, we're going to release 15 or 10 today.
Yeah,
So
got you.
yeah, so if it's something that resonates with you, definitely would love to
Okay.
help you if you like.
So what you're saying is, like, as Ma'am Annie said, like starting from the first session, you can see if it's anger or depression. So starting from right there, you will
Yes.
like help me.
So yeah, what happens is that we work backwards, and it doesn't always have to be anger or depression. Like, those aren't the emotions. It can be, but it doesn't always have to be. But yeah, it can be multiple things causing the just like the end result, and the end result right now for you is the depression. And so during the initial session, that's when we find out which 3 want to be released, and it's whatever your subconscious wants to release at this time, because we always have something to release. It's just whatever we need to release at that time to help you move forward and accelerate.
Yes, thank you.
No, thank you for asking.
You're welcome.
Also, I have to break our connection, Stan. I did not do that earlier. So am I still connected to Stan? All right, and can I please break my connection with Stan? Am I still connected to Stan? Yes or no? All right, I am no longer connected with you, Stan. So you have your energy back and I get mine back. So thank you so much. But how are we doing on time? I don't know if I'm like over or
We're about right. So where to from here? I would, we see your contact information, and definitely your website's going to have email contact. I don't see
oh
an
yeah, I
email
forgot
on
to put
that.
my email.
Right. So yeah, definitely feel free to contact Rosemary, and this is very, very good. I appreciate hearing what you had to share, Rosemary, and
Thank you.
and
Thank you
feel
for
like it
listening.
opened up. Yeah, it opened up my awareness to a whole new area, and also
Yay.
connected with things that I know historically, ancient energy healing, and good for you for bringing that back and
Thank you.
being a part
And
of that.
I mean, all energy healing is essentially the same, and it's just how we get there and how we get to whatever it is that you need to, heal at that time. It's all the same energy, and just whatever you want to perceive it as, but it is your own energy, and just sometimes we need a little help along the way. And so I'm glad that I was able to be a part of that journey to help you become more aware of your emotions and how it can really affect how you are today. But
Very good.
everyone
And
here is beautiful.
Like, yeah, I just like to throw something out that the energy that's good for you guys, that the energy that we're talking about can also happen on a global scale. And so here you've got a lot of division we've been experiencing, and then lo and behold, we've got a pandemic coming up. So it's like humanity as a whole has experienced some really negative energy in the past few years, and it just keeps getting more and more acute. And what do you know? We've got a pandemic. And the last time we had a pandemic like this, people are comparing it to after what happened in 1918, which is, lo and behold, after World War I, where there was that great flu that occurred. And so when you talk about energy healing, I think that we have a need for something on an even larger scale than individually. I don't know how to even approach that, but I do feel that there's a need for that. And I just like to put that on your radar, that you think not just in terms of individuals, but that as you move through life, begin to think larger, because you're in a world that needs this more than ever before on a global scale. So just a thought for you.
Oh, thank you. Well, that's why I created Lots of Love Club, because essentially the mission statement is to connect souls, who are consciously expanding their love. And I really stress the importance of self-love first and foremost. And even though in that sense, that's how I'm going to make it more on a global scale, but definitely it always starts with self. And the more people become aware of self, then that's how we'll really make this change and just spread more love and more positive healing energy around the world. So I'm working on it slowly but
Good.
surely.
This is the hope for our future,
Mhm. Yeah.
is more of what you have to share.
And what we all have to share.
Yep.
I mean, we all have the ability to do
Mhm.
energy healing, energy work. It's just really tapping into ourself and stepping to that power within ourself to just heal ourselves and to spread awareness to others that they can heal themselves too. So it's
Very good.
happening.
Very good. Yes.
Yeah.
Well, keep going in that direction. Good. And help others to
Yeah.
do likewise.
Hmm.
Okay. Well, this then concludes our webinar on emotion code. And thank you so much, Rosemary, for what you've brought. And I encourage anyone who is feeling pains or just feeling a blockage of some kind, definitely Rosemary is the person to go to.
Oh,
And
thank you so much.
okay.
Thank you, everyone who's joined us tonight. It was so nice to meet
Thank you
you,
for you
Stan,
too.
Z.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you for joining and for taking the time to learn and become aware, because that's what's also really needed right now, instead of just shoving it under the rug. So thank you so much.
Okay.
And thanks for your input, Annie.
Yes,
I'm a
thank you,
so
huge
much,
Annie.
Rosemary.
Annie.
I'm a
Thanks.
huge Rosemary fan, and I've had she's worked on me, and it very powerful, very quick. You know, I've seen other people use emotion code, and Rosemary is by far one of the most powerful emotion code practitioners I've ever met.
Oh, thank you, Annie.
Nice.
Thank
Okay.
you, and the same for you. When I've done work with you, it's just, I can't even describe it because I'm speechless. But the energy speaks for itself.
Neurofeedback in quantum energy, Dr. Denise Tropia. That's our next webinar. So
Cool.
then on April 15th, tax day of all times. This is
Yeah.
good.
I
The
wonder.
value,
I wonder if that's still
Doesn't mean she's
happening.
gonna go listen.
the value and strategy of detox. Yes, that's good for tax day.
Hmm.
And then May 6th, overcoming the impact of fear. And May 13th, achieving your optimal financial health. And that's going to be
All right.
Annie. So
Sounds like me and Stan need to go that one.
Exactly.
me too. Annie,
Money
you
is an
better
emotion.
get all ready.
Yeah.
Yep. Definitely going to that
Okay,
one.
good. Okay, so that's what's coming up. And thank you all for being a part of this. We will see you in a couple of weeks.